Hail, hail everyone, and welcome to episode 14 of the Celtic Minded podcast. I'm Frank and he's Tommy. We've been off air for a wee while. I apologise to all of you who have been asking, where's the podcast? It's not since, I think it was the 16th of December that we actually had a wee episode. We've been busy. This man here has been all over the world, well, at least in Portaventura.
I was over in Dubai as well.
In Dubai as well, there you go.
The Celtic fans over there asked me to go over and they were brilliant. I was treated like a king, and thank you very much to the Dubai Celtic supporters.
Well, I get invited to Govan, which, you know, comparable.
It's a nice place.
Dubai for Frank,
It's a nice place.
Govan for Tommy. So there you go, such is life. Listen, what a season we are having. I don't know about you, Frank, but I sat and I watched us failing to score against Dundee United. Away back, I think it was September, when one each at Parkhead, when a 16-year-old for Dundee United stopped Albion Aete from scoring. I then sat and watched us against Livingston in October when we got a penalty in the last couple of minutes to win the game 1-0. And Big Georgios missed the penalty, and we dropped, in those two games, 4 points dropped at home, which, you know, in this league can be very, very unforgivable. And I thought, oh, are we ever going to be able to make up this ground? Because at one stage we were 7 points behind the Rangers. Frank, on the 31st of January, 2 days before we play the Rangers at Parkhead, if we beat them, we go top of the league. That's how much ground we've made. The consistency of the Celtic team has been remarkable. With one wee blip, I don't know if you were a bad omen or whatever, because you were at the game at Love Street commentating and we failed to score that night. But apart from that, we've ground out results, and there's a spirit here, isn't there, of the 10 men. Last minute against Ross County, 10 men we scored. Last minute against Dundee United on Saturday, 10 men we scored. The spirit of this team is remarkable.
I put that down to the manager. The manager came to a club that had imploded, and he's got to fix this club, and by God, he's doing a brilliant job. He's managing to get results together, just sneak in a wee run here and there. And I was actually in Bears Bar. There used to be Bears Bar. I think it's now called the Gallagate, and there was a big enormous screen. I was in there with my son Sean and his two friends. And
on Saturday?
Yeah, on Saturday, and we were just watching the Rangers game. You know, they were all going up to the Celtic game, and I wanted to see my boy Sean, and we watched the Ross County game. I've never seen guys so happy, Celtic fans so happy for a long time. And even outside, they were jumping up and down. They weren't even in the pub, they were watching it from the outside, the game, and everybody was jumping up and down, and it was a magical moment. And I mean, like that, if that would give Celtic momentum for this, for this afternoon. And I'm watching the game, the Celtic game, nothing each, and I said, oh no, they're not going to take this. And then again, Abada, who I didn't really rate that highly, but he's scoring very important goals, and you can't buy that kind of player. So Abada, well done.
I've got to put my hand up, Frank. I've been a critic of Abada myself. It has many Celtic fans, I think, sometimes wasteful on the ball, sometimes gives the ball away in good positions. But say what you want, he's only a young guy, he's just turned 20, came to us when he was 19, and the truth is, his goal return record has been phenomenal for a wide player. He's not even an out-and-out centre forward, but he's adaptable. He can play through the middle, he can play out wide. I've got close friends who constantly have said to me, give the guy a chance, give the guy a chance.
Right.
And the truth is, that goal and the way he took it on Saturday, I mean, that was class. I mean, that first touch, how many guys, that first touch would come in and they would have went to the keeper, they would have went to a defender. He killed it dead and then bang, scored it. To me, that is a mark of quality that the boy has. So I'm going to go off his back. I think he deserves more and more support and encouragement from us. And from my point of view, he's one of major signings that Big Ange has made.
Right, I have to say something, you know, it's okay scoring goals and it's great scoring goals at Parkhead and fans are happy, but to score important goals, to score goals at the right time, and you know, 30 seconds to go, we need 3 points so badly, it's unbelievable, bang, he gets the goal at the right time. That's what amazes me. I didn't want him to score in 45 minutes or 60 minutes, 93 minutes, then they can't come back, the points are in the bag. And that for me was a big turning point of the season, Saturday afternoon, and I think that it was a piece of history for me to see Celtic imploded last year and to have a chance. If you'd have said to me in August, Celtic will have a chance late January, he may be winning the league, late January, and I would have said, you're off your head. And this Postecoglu is just grinding out wins, and that's the most important thing Celtic have got now. You cannot buy this as momentum. See, when you come in January and you've got momentum, that is very, very important, and you can't buy that.
And Big Ange, Frank, you and I have said it already, the character of the man, his whole make-up, his willingness to take on the stupid media sometimes with the ridiculous questions he gets given. He just concentrates on football, on results. He concentrates on the things that matters, which I think shows his character oozing out of every interview he does. More and more he's endeared himself to the Celtic fans, isn't he?
Well, I think he's a brilliant manager. The Celtic fans love him. And you know, you've got to remember, he's also won. He's won a trophy already. Now, that gives you confidence that there's winners there, and I think Postecoglu's the winner. He's the big winner, and he's trying to shape this team and to winning games all the time, which that's what he's there for. But he's doing it under circumstances that I've never seen Celtic be so bad as last year. And now the excitement of Celtic have got a chance of winning the league this year, and I think Celtic and Rangers just now are evens. But Celtic have got momentum, and they go to Ibrox with a good chance. And there's a few things I want to say about Rangers that would help on the Celtic team. McGregor lost two goals against Ross County at the weekend that I would have saved. Do you know what I mean? I would have caught the two balls, and I always remember playing.
Is that going too far?
I'm not going too far. I'm just telling the truth.
I've seen you in goals.
I know that. I was only kidding on there about that. Anyway, I always remember there was a time I played for St
St Mirren. 40 today.
Well, that's involved what I'm going to tell you. When I was about 34 or something, I was playing for St Mirren against a Celtic, I think. It was about that age, and I had a great header. I had a very good chance to score against a Celtic, and I just put it by the post, and I said I should have scored there, and I never. And that point, there's a point that comes in your career, you go like that. I think I'm past it now. I think I have to watch. That I would always put in 99 times out of 100, and I missed it. And I think McGregor has got the same problem now. He's 40. Now, making one mistake is okay, but making two horrendous mistakes will affect him. And when Celtic meet Rangers this week, Celtic have got to put him under complete and utter pressure. Shoot on sight, get balls coming off the ground, let him deal with all that. Get the centre forward, Barry's Postecoglu, every corner free kick, the centre forward's right on top of the goalkeeper, don't give him any room. Do all these things you've got to do in football and put the pressure on him, and I think if Celtic do that, they will win.
Well, we welcome the Rangers to Parkhead on Wednesday night, Frank, and it's a fixture that you're no stranger to. You have played so many times And in your day, it was called the Old Firm because they went bust by that time. But give us a wee talk. How do you prepare for these games? What is it like? What is it like, the cauldron of hatred in some respects? I mean, in your days, there was probably more even fan share in terms of the tickets. Nowadays, on Wednesday night, there'll be no Rangers fans in Parkhead because they wouldn't allow us in Ibrox. So how does it feel going out there and having that absolute electric atmosphere?
Well, I have to say, the one thing that I think Rangers and Celtic have made a big mistake not allowing the opposite fans in. I think that's disgraceful. They've had something that's worked for over 100 years, completely and utterly worked, and they change it. You never fix things that are more broken. And they've fixed this, and I don't like that. I like going to Ibrox, a big Celtic, all the people there, and going to Parkhead, and the whole Rangers end is full. It's a fantastic atmosphere, and it gives either team the chance to win because all their supporters are there. And I think that's a big mistake for Celtic and Rangers. I have to say that it really, I love playing when there was Rangers fans at Ibrox and the Celtic fans were there. You had the support for the Celtic fans. If you scored a goal, you went to them and they loved it. You know, I don't like what they're doing, and it's, you know, they're saying it's all financial and all that. A lot of rubbish. Get the fans back in.
I actually agree with you.
I
mean, as you know, you and I have differences of opinion about how we view the current Rangers, because I think it's a new team. You've explained in the past that you think it's not their fault. I say, whose fault was it? But the point is, I actually do agree with you. I think if football is about the fans, then it's about the fans of both teams that are playing in a park.
Yes.
And I think it actually adds rather than taking away from the atmosphere to have opposition fans, right? So I agree with you. But how did it feel when you were playing in those games? What was your first one like?
My first one, I just came up from Liverpool, and came up to Liverpool, and Desmond White wanted me to play against St Mirren that day. We've been assigned for Celtic to get extra crowd in to pay for the transfer fee. So I had to play that night. I wasn't prepared to play that night, and I had a bit of a stinker, and I played against Hibs on the Saturday. I scored in that game, so that took the pressure off me right away. The Celtic fans were like, he scored. But then we had to play Rangers.
So is this your third game? So your third game when you signed for Celtic?
I was against Rangers, and they had guys at the back that, you know, kicked their granny, and I think they thought I was their granny, and they, you know, so it was that game was very, very tough.
Name names.
And there,
who was kicking the grannies?
There was, I don't want to name names, but they know who they were. The Rangers had a very good team then, and we had a good team as well, and it was nothing each. And I wasn't having a good game that night, and it was nothing each. But the atmosphere was electric. You know, they were getting cheers for big tackles getting in. You know, you get cheered for that then, and guys lying about, rolling about, and brilliant atmosphere. 2 minutes before the end, Roy Aitken, I don't know where Roy came, but he was supposed to be the sweeper, and he was running up the left wing, and he back-heeled it and he crossed it to me, and I headed the ball low against Peter McCloy, because I always done that with St Mirren. I made sure it was always low because he could never get down,
right. And
I headed it low in the net, and I went, you know, something I dreamt about when I was a young boy happened. I was like that, and I ran. I think that's the quickest I've ever ran to the jungle. It's the quickest I've ever ran to the jungle in my life, and I just said, and they were all going crazy, because Rangers, if you score at the end, they can't come back. So the Celtic fans knew we won. And I went back, I was in the McDonald's hotel that night, so I was.
So it was a midweek game?
It was, I can't remember, it must have been, because I was in the McDonald's, and all the boys, well, whatever happened, I think I played
You've played that many games against them, mate. I mean, I just...
by the way, it was dark, so it must have been a midweek game. It was dark, well done.
Floodlights were on.
So the floodlights were on, and after the game, I went back to the McDonald's hotel, And all my pals for Easter House and for St Mirren and all that all came to the game and all came to the hotel before the game and after it. But they brought all their pals to the hotel.
Right.
And I was like that. I said, look at the crowd here. I scored the winner and all my pals put money on me to score the winner.
Seriously?
And because I always say to them, my first game against Rangers, I'll score. You know, I was overconfident at the time. And they were like, right, Frank, put money on you. And I was like that. And then after the game, they were all in the McDonald Hotel that used to be in Newton Mearns, and we're all there, and I went in and we're all drinking, and I had a pint of lager, and I said, I've got to go to my bed because I've got training, we had to go in for training in the morning. It was light training, and I said, look at the crowd here. And I got up the next morning and I ran out to the car, and the manager of the McDonald's Hotel ran after me. Oh, I said, oh, what's wrong? Something's happened. He went, Frank, that's the most amount of money we've ever taken up. Well done. So, God.
So, in terms of your career, mate, I mean, honestly, what's better? It's your third game for Celtic. You've came as a big signing. At one time, you were the biggest, most expensive signing in Scotland. You went from St Mirren down to Liverpool. I don't think you really got a chance at Liverpool. You've came back up to Celtic. 3 games in, you score in your second game, so you've done well. But this is your third game, and you actually scored the winner. Was that the only goal that night?
It was the only goal. And Bobby Russell, who was a friend of mine, I played with him in Rantic in Easter House. He always says that they hated Frank because he'd always score late goals.
Ah, right. Okay.
He said they hated and they said he was always a menace to us, and that was a compliment.
Of course it is. Of course it is. He was a good player. He was a very good player. I mean,
he was the only guy in Easter House that was skinnier than me.
Is that right?
Me and him were the 2 skinniest guys in Easter House, but we could play a wee bit.
So you went from that, and then you played against Rangers several times thereafter, and I think you scored as many as maybe 8 or more goals. I mean, I know you've scored goals for other teams against Rangers, but for Celtic against Rangers, would you reckon about 8 times you've scored?
I would say 1 in every 2.5 games I've scored against Rangers, which is very good. And I scored quite a lot of goals for St Mirren against Rangers as well. And I had a few goals chopped off for St Mirren that shouldn't have been chopped off, but we're not going into all that.
Tell me this fact about you've scored at each end at both Ibrox and Parkhead. Is that right? So
I don't know who else has done that. I've scored at Celtic end and Rangers end at Ibrox and at Parkhead, and I think Ali McCoy might have done it, but I don't know who else would have done it. I'm very happy about that because nobody can ever say to me, "Oh, you couldn't score against Rangers." I scored in every goal.
In every goal, yeah, in every end.
Goal. But you know, I was a wee skinny guy. Bobby Russell was a wee skinny guy as well in Easter House. We had no chance of making it. We were just pushed off the ball. But I said, wee skinny guys, you've got to look for because they're the ones that fall out and become a player. And that's what happened to me and him.
In this day and age, Frank, the truth is there seems to be an emphasis on athleticism, physical attributes, height and stature. And it may be that the likes of Bobby Russell, the likes of John McDonald, the likes of Jimmy Johnson, the likes of yourself, you might know of being seen as viable players because you didn't have the physical stature.
Exactly.
And yet the truth is he's went on to become remarkable players.
But you just have to look at all the Celtic centre forwards through the century. Only Hartson and a few other players have been tall. Sutton. Who's the other one? The guy from Holland.
Henrik.
No, Henry.
Jan Vennegaard. Hesselink.
No, the other one.
He was tall.
Big
Hoydonk.
Yeah, he was brilliant. He was brilliant. But there's never been tall players being successful really at Parkhead, maybe 3 or 4, and the rest over 130 years have all been small. So I think being small and quick and can finish is very important for Celtic players. And I don't think you've got to be big. The only guy when I was doing at Liverpool, John Toshak, he was at Liverpool before me, but him and Keegan done brilliant.
Yes.
They were a great partnership because...
Frank, last week we played Hearts at Tynecastle.
Yes.
And one of the remarkable features, if you look at the lineup, I think I'm right about this, but of the actual starting 11, 9 of the 11 were Postecoglu signings. I think the only 2 that weren't Postecoglu signings were Callum McGregor in the middle and Greg Taylor at left back.
Right.
Okay. That to me is a mark of what this guy and the stamp that this guy has put on this team. 9 of his signings. You look at Hart. I mean, what a signing! He's been everybody. You look at some of the pundits will say, "Oh, he's finished. His confidence is gone." The guy has been immense for us in goals. He's given us that confidence at the back. People have slagged the boy Starfelt. I think he's been given an awful hard time, and yet against Hearts, when the going get tough, when they were putting us under pressure, he stood tall. He made important tackles, important headers. Sometimes his distribution still, could be better, but you've got to remember he's playing on the left-hand side of the defence when he's a right footer. So it must be difficult in getting the ball. He's not got the natural left-sided pass. He has to turn and take it on his right foot. The boy Carter Vickers, he's my type of player. I've got to say, I love him at the back. I think he's absolutely formidable. Wins everything he goes for.
But to have a good defence, you don't just have a good defence after a few games. Dundee United and Aberdeen had the best defensive records in the early 80s. Why? Because they played that defence for 2-3 seasons, and then that team became a great defence. And because they made a great defence, Aberdeen won a European trophy, and Dundee United get into the final of a European trophy. And that is remarkable, and that was all down to having good defences. I played at Celtic at the time, and we Charlie Nicholas and George McCluskey scored over 100 goals in the season Dundee United won the league.
Brilliant statistic. I've got to correct myself here because I'm actually remembering, I think Forrest also started, because I think I was disappointed that Jota didn't start, and I think Jota come on, if I'm not mistaken, or was that against goodness, it's only a week ago.
No, he came on against, he made the goal at the weekend.
I know, but I'm talking about, did he start against Hearts?
I don't know.
I can't remember whether it was Abada and Jota. And then we played, because we played Hibs, remember? We beat them in the midweek game. We then had the game at Alloa. We then had the game at Hearts. And then obviously on Saturday, Ange, I think, tried to rest Jota a wee bit.
Yeah.
Rested Juranovic, started with Ralston, started with Forrest and Abada, but brought Jota on. And to me, Frank, I don't know about you, mate, but he's got to be one of the most exciting players we've seen at Parkhead for a long time.
Right. The first thing I have to say that if they can get Jota playing for the rest of the games this season, they get Kyogo playing the rest of the games this season, Celtic will win the league.
Well, I'm going to say to you, I think you're only going to get 1 out of 2. I was going to say 2 out of 3 ain't bad, but you never gave me 3, so I could
Abada,
the link with Meatloaf there, who's recently passed away. God rest his soul. I love Meatloaf. I love the music. However, it's off topic. The point is, Kyogo's not going to be back this season. I don't think. Certainly not in the next 2 months.
What exactly is wrong with him?
Well, what I'm led to believe, Frank, is that he had already strained his hamstring, but it wasn't a full tear, so he was able to have a bit of rest and then risked against Hibs in the final, which turned out to be an absolute brilliant gamble because he won the final for us, right? However, he then played against St Johnstone, and apparently the strain has become a tear. And when you tear the hamstring, doesn't matter who you are, you've got a minimum 6 to 8 weeks.
But you've got longer than that, because when you think you're okay, you must be given another 2 weeks. I remember having a hamstring strain, and Barry McNeil said to me, "Come on, Frank, you play this game." And I was like, "No." I said, if I tear it, I said, "I'm okay just now, but if I go on and tear it, I'm going to be out for a lot longer." And I said to him, "I don't want to play in the game." And I was right to do that. And he said, "Right, okay." Because I was adamant, I didn't want my body to be hurt even more, and I took another week rest and I came back and I was okay.
Well,
it's very, very important that when you think you're ready, give yourself another week. That's very important.
I think with muscle injuries, muscles, that contraction in the muscle, explosive contraction, you might think you're ready until you're in a game situation and you have to sprint for a ball, or jump for a ball, or kick the ball even, because obviously the quadriceps can get affected with kicking the ball. So I've been on the treatment table myself a few times, Francis, and I speak to the physios. I love speaking to the physios. Some of them are so knowledgeable about the game, and as far as I'm led to believe, that could be a situation where he's out for a wee while. The big boy Georgios come in, and Saturday there, he probably missed a couple of chances. Very unlucky, probably the one with Sigris saves it with his foot. I mean, that was just a remarkable save. But there was another one that I thought he should have scored, and he probably had a tough game. And again, Ange's decision. We're chasing a goal. There's 10 minutes to go. We must get a goal, and he takes him off. And a lot of fans were grumbling about it. But he puts Abada through the middle. He brings on a 16-year-old, and by the way, hats off. I think this is the youngest debutant for Celtic for about 130 years. This boy turned 16 in November. He was, so in other words, he was 15 in November, turned 16, and he's making his debut for Celtic at Parkhead 3 months later. Fantastic, Bendo, brilliant, and he looked good. He looked looked as though he's got a bit of pace, bit of directness about him. But Ange brings on a 16-year-old to keep the width, puts Abada through the middle. We're all grumbling, oh, he's taking off the centre forward, and we score. That tells you we should keep our mouths shut.
You've got to remember, when he brought him on, Giamakis hadn't scored any goals in the game, and he was given how many minutes, and he came on, and you see the guys that come and score goals at the right time when the club need them. They're priceless, and this Abada. Now, I didn't really rate him that highly, I have to say, but I always give people a chance. Always give people a chance to settle in, and then once they're settled in and they're not playing well, then you say to yourself, but he scored 12 goals this year.
Listen, the boy came at first, and I think he scored his first couple of games. I think he got a double, and I was like, oh, brilliant, fantastic. I then felt as though he went off the boil a wee bit. I felt as though some of his passes were let us down when he was coming inside, and I was probably overcritical. He's only 19 at the time, he's just turned 20. So, hands up, overcritical. The boy has popped up and given us crucial goals at crucial times. I mean, away to St Johnstone there, we needed to win that game. We had to win that game.
We won every game.
He's played through the middle and scores a brace. You know, the boy has scored crucial goals, as you say, at crucial times. So I'm going to take my hat off to Abada. I think he's been doing a great job. Look at the other signings, by the way. You've got Kyogo, you've mentioned already. We've mentioned Starfelt. You've got the situation where we're still to see the best of McCarthy.
Well, McCarthy.
I think he's going to get playing on Wednesday, Frank. I think he'll be in the middle.
But who bought him?
It was Ange bought him. Aye, it was Ange bought him. I mean, now whether that's one of these signings that was that far down the line before he comes in, I don't know, right?
Did Ange want him? Did Ange want him?
I don't know. I think you've got to expect that when Ange is in charge, when a guy signs at the age of 30 and is given a 4-year deal, he's got to have some say in it. Now, there's no doubt the guy has got a great pedigree. The guy has played at Premier League level for many seasons.
He's a great player.
However, he came to us with a bad injury record. He's picked up injuries since he came. I think he's maybe not got the credit it's due. He played against St Johnstone, for instance, and he had a great game actually. Quiet, under the radar, but he was very good in that game. He's came on in a couple of games and done well recently. And on Wednesday night, I think he's got a huge platform because the big fella can't play. He's been sent off. He's been doing well in there for us in the absence of Callum. The other boy, Gucci, the Japanese player who plays in that holding midfield, he can't play, he's still injured. So McCarthy's in on Wednesday as far as I'm concerned. I think he's got to keep the heat, because, you know...
Yeah, he's got the experience, he should be able to handle himself in a football park now. He's went through all that. But I actually met him at one of the games. I went up to one of the games. I was invited up to one of the games at Parkhead. I had to go and sit down after they asked me to go up. But anyway, that was nice of them. And I seen him after the game, and he was